For centuries, humans have been growing alongside our botanical brethren. Our histories have mixed and mingled to bring us modern medical marvels, faded folklore, and everything in between. Of course, in order to understand the plant, we have to start with its roots. I'm M. Grubner Gaddis, and this is Rooted.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Rooted, where this week we'll be digging into Oleander. This is technically the last episode in our Deadly Potion series that we started way back in October, but we're finally finishing it after a lot of life stuff happened. I'm so glad to be back here. Now, Oleander is a super popular landscaping plant, so it's pretty likely that you've seen it around. Especially if you're an LA-based listener, they are the super tall shrubs with the sort of frilly white or pink flowers and the sort of olive-esque leaves. Think dark green, thick and pointy. Oleander or Nerum oleander is a member of the Apocynaceae or dogbane family, with famous relatives like milkweed and periwinkle. To dip into the family drama for a second, milkweeds and dogbanes actually used to be in two completely different families. But as we learned more about them, it became increasingly more apparent that they should be merged based on how we group things. Dogbanes also got their names from the 16th century, roughly, when people believed that their local dogbane family members were repelling wild dogs and would keep them at bay or even kill them. Moving back to Oleander, this popular broadleaf evergreen has a spread of about 8 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide, with dark and pointy opposite leaves and groups of 5-petaled flowers that can be white, red, pink, or purple. These guys are native to the Mediterranean, but have since spread all over the world by way of gardens because of how easygoing they are. They are drought tolerant, don't mind bright sun, and need very little care or upkeep. Of course, this does mean they can be invasive, so it's important to keep an eye on them if you have any in your yard. But Oleander isn't just playing an important role in gardens. It's also a key character in Greek mythology and folklore. On the Greek mythology side of things, it's said that Oleander gets its name from the tragic love story of Hero and Leander. According to the legend, Hero was a priestess of Aphrodite that lived across the Hellespont River from Leander. After a brief meeting, they decided they wanted to be together, though at first Hero was hesitant due to her commitment to Aphrodite. After some time, they did fall deeply in love, with Leander swimming across the river to see Hero each night. As the weather began to change and the water got to be colder and more dangerous, they decided to stop seeing each other until spring. However, one chilly night, Leander saw Hero's light from her tower, and, not being able to be apart from her any longer, he decided to risk it and swim across. Tragically, a storm came in and blew Hero's candle out, and Leander lost his way. In the morning, when the tide came in, Hero found Leander's lifeless body, and, beside herself with grief, took her own life. Some versions of this myth say Leander was clutching an oleander flower that he had intended to give to Hero, and others say the plant sprang forth from their bodies. Either way, it's a tragic way to earn a name. In what was really more of an urban legend, there are a lot of stories out there of Boy Scouts or camping families who have died by eating hot dogs roasted on hot dog skewers made of oleander. In reality, this is based on a super old journal from French soldiers in the 1800s who are often recounting an incident where a man supposedly cooked a large amount of meat on oleander and accidentally poisoned his comrades. In some retellings they die, and in others they're super sick for about 8 days, but no one can really find any other evidence. And when I say no one, I mean even the team that did a full-on study of this entire theory where they not only looked into the history of this, but then went on to find any kind of substantiated modern claims. And they couldn't. So, as a last resort, they literally tested this theory by roasting hot dogs on fresh and dried oleander, finding only trace amounts of oleandrin left in the meat. As far as what actually causes oleander poisoning, the most common culprit is intentional ingestion of the leaves, but all parts of the plant do contain oleandrin. Apparently, the plants with red flowers are slightly more potent than other varieties, which is interesting because red does typically point to a potential poison in nature, not always. But I wouldn't have thought that this would really make any kind of notable difference, since the color of flowers is really just a slight genetic variance. But how exactly does oleandrin work? Oleandrin works just like digitoxin in the body, which is the toxin found in foxglove. So it binds with the sodium-potassium ATPase, or pump, and that is the system which regulates both sodium and calcium in the heart. So when oleandrin binds with the system, the heart begins to hold on to too much sodium and calcium, which makes it contract harder while also slowing the heart down until it eventually fails. Symptoms of oleander poisoning include in the heart and blood, an irregular or slow heartbeat, low blood pressure, and weakness. For your eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and throat, we're expecting kind of blurred vision disturbances like halos or aura around specific objects. And then in the stomach and intestines, you're going to have diarrhea, a loss of appetite, nausea and vomiting, and stomach pain. For our nervous system, you're likely to experience confusion, death, obviously, depression, disorientation, dizziness, drowsiness, fainting, headache, and lethargy. And on the skin, you might see a rash or hives. Treatment usually includes increasing fluids, activated charcoal, and providing an antidote, as the bind on the sodium-potassium pump is reversible. Some folks do have to have the stomach pumped, but that's not super common. Most people do make a full recovery within 1 to 3 days in the case of accidental ingestion. Like foxglove, oleander has also been used in a variety of herbal remedies and is even in an active trial to treat cancer today, much like its cousin vinca. Outside of cancer, it's also been used to treat heart disease, scabies, ringworm, and HIV. Outside of medicine, its toxicity has also lended itself to pest control, shocking no one. And finally, because this is our last episode in the Deadly Poison series, we're going to take a closer look at a true crime case, this time coming to us from Los Angeles. And we're going to take a note from Camping is Cancelled and read an article written on the case, since honestly, there isn't much to say about it that the reporter didn't. So, in an article in the Los Angeles Times by John Johnson, published February 10th, 1990, titled Ex-Mortician Charged in Oleander Poisoning, the Times staff writer writes, in what's to be believed to be the first murder prosecution in American history for oleander poisoning, authorities filed charges Friday against a former Pasadena funeral home worker accused of using the lethal plant's leaves to poison a rival mortician. David Wayne Sconce, 33, was charged with poisoning Timothy R. Waters, 24, a rival Burbank mortician in 1985. The motive, according to Los Angeles County Assistant Chief Deputy District Attorney Harvey Geis, was to keep Waters from exposing activities at the Lamb Funeral Home where Sconce worked. Sconce is now serving a 5-year prison term after pleading guilty last April to 21 criminal counts involving the mingling of human remains, the theft of body parts, and the removal of gold teeth from cadavers at the funeral home. It was these activities that Geis alleged Sconce was trying to keep secret by poisoning Waters. Sconce's parents, Lori Ann Lamb Sconce and Jerry Sconce, are awaiting trial on charges of mingling remains and other charges connected with activities in the funeral home. The allegations amounted to, quote, "The worst scandal I've ever seen or that I could ever imagine," end quote, California Cemetery Board Executive Officer John W. Gale says in 1988. Bruce Lamb, an uncle of David Sconce who is now running the family mortuary, said he believes that his nephew is innocent. He said the murder charges, on top of earlier accusations, have, quote, devastated the family. According to Geis, the case began in the 1970s when Lori Ann Lamb Sconce took over the operation of the 67-year-old Lamb Funeral Home. In 1982, according to Geis, David Sconce took control of the Pasadena Crematorium in Altadena, a part of the family operation. He started a business called Coastal Cremations, Inc., taking in bodies for cremation on behalf of other mortuaries through Southern California for as little as $55 each. "They tried to corner the market," said Joe Efston, the funeral director of the Cremation Society of California. At the same time, Waters began operating the Alpha Society cremation service in Burbank, Geis said. In January 1985, Geis said Waters told a friend, Richard Gray, that the Lamb Funeral Home was doing multiple cremations, packing more than one body into the ovens, making it impossible to be sure whose remains were delivered to survivors. Geis said Gray relayed the information about Waters to Sconce, and Geis also said Waters was intending to turn Sconce into state funeral regulators. In February of 1985, Waters was beaten at his office, and Sconce was charged with assault, to which he pled guilty. Then, in April of 1985, Waters died at his parents' home in Camarillo after becoming ill while babysitting for his sister in Malibu. Cause of death was originally listed as a heart attack. However, Dr. Friedrich Reiters, a Pennsylvania expert on oleander poisoning brought in by the Los Angeles authorities, later said after analysis of blood samples from Waters that oleander poisoning was the true cause of death. While one witness said he saw Sconce slip an unknown substance into Waters' drink at a restaurant, prosecutors said they were uncertain how the alleged poisoning occurred. Deaths from oleander poisoning are rare, but a number have occurred over the years. Some cases are accidental, as in a California case several years ago when a woman died after brewing an oleander tea from what she thought were harmless leaves. Geis said he believes that this is the first time anyone has been prosecuted for using oleander as a murder weapon in the United States, although there had been at least one prosecution involving the use of oleander as a folk medicine. And there you have it. Our Deadly Poison series has officially come to a close, but I'll be back next week with a new episode I think you'll really like. See you then! Thank you so much for listening. If you liked the show, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen. You can follow us on social media at rooted.pod, on Instagram and TikTok. We're also on YouTube at rooted.podcast, and you can check out our website, rootedpod.com, for transcripts, updates, and so much more. Thank you so much for being here and for learning with me. This show would not be possible without your support. Until next time, be kind to yourselves, be kind to the earth, and just like a plant, drink your water. Rooted, a Plant Podcast, is a Henbane Media LLC production. It's written and produced by me, M. Grebner Gaddis, with the music by Eric Cluxon.